and welcome along to the Albert Park Circuit. Welcome around to round number 12 of the Formula One World Championship in ISRL Esports Season 3. Thank you, everybody. This is the Australian Grand Prix, and you're watching live on the ISRL Esports YouTube channel. My name is ISRLX. I'm joined today by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. I'm back again after a week's absence, and we're here for round number 12. 6 rounds remaining in the World Championship, and it is 123 points, which is the gap between Sweet Crown 19 and Jer for the Formula One World Championship in Tier 1. And Fallen, it's great to be back with you in the commentary booth as we're getting set for action in full qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix, and it is a 19-car grid there today, and Pubed is back on the grid today, so glad to see him back here as well. And let's get set for action. And Fallen, talk us through your highlights that you want to focus on as we head into another weekend of Tier 1 action.
Well, on another weekend here, it's great to be back, and welcome back to the commentators booth after the absence. It's nice to have you back here. But as we're waiting for drivers to kick things off here in short qualifying, I'll be honest, I have to stress turns 11 and 12 here around the circuit. The fast left-right hand chicane before that last DRS zone. We've seen it in Tier 3, we've seen it in Tier 2, and I'm sure we'll see it in Tier 1 as well, that with drivers pushing as hard as they possibly can on these laps in the qualifying in the race, it's really easy to lose it out, and one wrong mistake, that could be the end of the race right there. So I think really it's all about discipline through this track, because there's lots of places that could just end your race before it even starts. As I'm seeing some drivers getting on the grid to kick things off here for qualifying 1.
And it is 3 sections of qualifying. Q1, which is the 18-minute session you're watching right now. Q2, 15 minutes, and then the final 12 minutes of qualifying 3. Of course, in Q1, it will be the top 15 that make it into Q2. Q2, then, it is the top 10 that'll make it into Q3. And, of course, the Q3 is the top 10 shootout to battle for pole position. But right now, it's almost a full grid right now. It's Pube, Jer, Farrell, Sweet Crown 19, Josh 2, URC rotation on screen right now. ISRL Carter, ISRL Gurman, Own, and we have VR46 Yarno, Callis, ISRL Knight, Andin DJ, Duwill, Isaac Kush, FRL Chappelle, Sophion, Colin, and Jamian is rounding off the grid at the moment, but some time is about to fly up on the board as URC rotation has started his flying lap. Both Alfa Romeos actually are on flying laps at the moment.
Yeah, but I'm watching Chappelle go around his lap. I'm gonna hopefully pronounce his name right this time around after completely butchering it last weekend. But he's got a purple first sector, being the first car on a flying lap. But we'll see what kind of time he can put up here in qualifying right at Albert Park. He had a very strong showing last week, as we all know. So hopefully he can translate that once again this week into a strong showing and potentially being up there by the end of the race.
As he heads on to the second DRS straight of the lap, as you can see him right there in that red and white Alfa Romeo. URC rotation very much complemented now with a very, very fast teammate in Tier 1. He's about to come around the final few turns. URC rotation is, in fact, about to set a time as well, as he's actually a little bit further behind his teammate. So Chappelle is going to be the first one across the line, and it is going to be a 1:19.5, which already beats the Tier 3 pole position time by a few tenths of a second. And already we're on a roll as URC rotation behind his teammate by about 6/10 of a second. Feral Fury is now going to go third fastest. We have Pubed on track in 4th position. We also have a Renault of Colin, yes it is, who goes 2nd fastest on track actually. And we have a Williams, it looks like in the distance. No, sorry, I thought that was a Williams. Trying to see who that was about to come across the line. It's Duwill in the Haas car, who is going to go 3rd fastest, a 1:20.0. Ferrari was about to cross the line there and is actually going to, looks like, to start a lap. That was Sophion. Josh 2 in the other Ferrari is about to end a lap as TNR own has come across the line and going to go 6th fastest. And into the times goes Josh 2, who will go 5th. Down to 7th is Own. Pubed goes into the pit lane on what was pretty much an installation lap. Sweet Crown 19 is currently on a hot lap. Of course, championship leader looking to extend that rivalry in the extend the points in the championship and continue the rivalry of Sweet Crown 19 as he's going to come across around the final turn. Chappelle currently has pole position. Will Sweet Crown 19 snatch it away? No, only 9th fastest. Not the time that we're very predictable with Sweet Crown 19. Only 9th on the grid for Sweet Crown 19 at the moment. But again, it's only Q1. You only have to get into the next session, and you have a little bit more room to do so with this larger grid of 19 drivers. So Sweet Crown 19 currently sitting 9th fastest. The only other driver currently right now that was on a time was Yarno, but he has since abandoned that time. So about half the grid, in fact, yes, just about half the grid, does not have any times on the board just yet, though we did have Sophion, who was about to actually finish a lap in the SF1000, and let's see what he can do. Ferrari sitting 2nd in the championship standings, that 89-point gap between 1st and 2nd position. Williams leading it. Sophion did not set a time, so he has to go around for another one.
He invalidated somewhere along that lap time, Sophion did, so he's going to have to go around again. Now, I know I was talking right at the start of qualifying about turns 11 and 12 and how easy it is to ruin a race.
And Sophion into the wall. Sophion has a spin out of the Sector 1, slow portion of Sector 1 at the end of the DRS straight. He came out of the exit. Looks like he mounted the curb a little bit too much, and that's a spin for the Ferrari driver. That's a significant amount of damage on the front wing. That's obviously going to have to be a pit stop, and no time on the board for now for Sophion. And you can continue on, sorry.
Oh, yeah, that was right around turn 3, turn 4 that we saw that, and that's a long way to go around the track with that wing damage, and already only 11 and a half minutes to go in qualifying. But I was talking about turns 11, 12, and already here in qualifying we saw a victim. That was Andens, whose qualifying ended before it really began after an incident into the wall after turn 12, so that is something to look out for as qualifying plays out, because we've already seen it have an impact here in the early stages of qualifying 1.
Let me get the track map and everything up for everybody, as I'm riding on board with Pubed right now, who is back on the grid today in the Renault car, as he is coming around that turn we just saw Sophion mess it up on. There's 2 curbs right there, the inside curb and then the inside curb, and then there actually is technically an outside curb, and that curb you definitely want to stay off on. You can really mount the car essentially on that curb and slow you down considerably. So you definitely want to stay off that curb coming into the race, but I'm sure most of the Tier 1 drivers won't necessarily have to experience that curb. We have ISRL Carter, who was actually trying to get out of the way of Pube, but Pube said, let me get a little bit of slipstream off of you, in fact, and in fact he does, as he's flying through, as you can see, 12 and 13, and does so successfully, not making a spinnerino in that portion of the track. Now in Sector 3, and let's see what Pube can do.
I was going to say, you was talking about Carter. His teammate, actually, Jamie 1, sits at 120.117. Good enough for 6th for the time being here in qualifying 1. But now Pube crosses the line, and that's actually good enough for 7th with just a little bit slower than Jamie 1's time. Pube set at 120.129.
So a pretty decent time by all the drivers so far that have set times, but there are still some drivers without it, and ISRL Carter is one of them, though he has started his lap in that all-pink helmet. And let's see what he can do in the blacked-out Mercedes of 2020. And as we're riding down the grid, you also have Callis, who almost went into the wall around the final turn.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a moment and decides to abort the lap before it even started, going into the pits and probably get a new set of tires on to try that again. But I'm keeping an eye on Carter, and it's a little too bad for him that Jamie didn't stick to him to potentially help give him a bit of a teammate advantage going down this straight that Carter's on now. But either way, we'll see how that affects his time and the lap time as he's coming through this the third sector now with just a few corners to go before he gets his first time on the board.
So the Mercedes driver with Jamian, who's currently in 6th position, he's going to look to get a pretty decent time on the board. It's not been the best of times for qualifying for Carter, but he's going to come across the line looking to be a very decent time, and it's going to be a 120.2. That's going to put him 9th on the grid, should put him easily into the next session, though. The 120s are a very consistent time in Q1, so it looks like it might not be totally safe, but should be decent enough to get into the next session. I also want to clarify, ISRL Lewis, who is invalidated currently on this lap, actually, has not yet set a time. With about 8 minutes left remaining in Q1, this is not reminiscent of what we normally see from the McLaren driver, so ISRL Lewis has to get a little bit more luck as he's going to go into the pits and get himself a little bit more within range. But Sweet Crown 19, by the way, has gone on pole position, or, well, P1 technically. It's not pole position just yet, as we haven't gone to Q3, but Sweet Crown 19 is the fastest man on track, just getting ahead of Chappelle by about 7/10 of a 7/100 of a second.
Yep, and he just recently set that time on the soft tires, no less. So maybe not really seeing all that much pace on the medium tires, but really showing the pace on the soft tires. I'm watching VR46 as he set a purple second sector. And given he does not have a time on the board, he might want to get a little bit of urgency in getting one up, and it looks like it's going to be a decent time, at least if that purple second sector is any indication of what he's going to be posting. But he's going to cross the line soon, so we will find out. And it's actually just a 120.6, so last of the cars who set a time just yet, so probably going to want to go around and get another lap in before the end of qualifying one to improve on that time.
So it's Yarno 14th on the grid. That's not necessarily safe. And Lewis is retired from the session. So Lewis is not going to be out of Q1 in this Australian Grand Prix. He is, in fact, retired out of the session. It looks like, did he have a crash somewhere? Or it looks like he might have just retired in the pit lane, in fact. Yeah, but nonetheless, that is very, very odd to see from the McLaren driver, who normally is striving for considerable position, and he definitely wants to be high up on the grid. That is not going to be the case today. He's going to have to start way down the order, as a few drivers still have to set times. Jer is one of them who's still in the pit lane. Callis and Sophion. Andon will not set a time, is currently out of the session as well.
Yeah, now I believe Jer actually had a qualifying ban.
Oh.
I'm off to just go confirm that very quickly for everybody watching the stream. Yes, so Jer actually had received a qualifying ban for last race in qualifying. He set a time after the session had ended, so went out after Q1's time, went into 0 and set a time, which is not allowed, as it is a known exploit, and that will actually be penalized going forward. And Jer was a victim of that.
I do want to mention that exploit has been since fixed. So the recent update actually fixed that issue.
Perfect.
Because they did notice that was an exploit. So that has been fixed in the recent patch that was updated, which updated the car performance. So that shouldn't be a problem moving forward.
Okay, well that's good to hear, but unfortunately for Jer, it was a little too late for him, as they couldn't save him from the qualifying ban. So it will be a bit of a recovery drive for Jer here in the race. And given that, as you had mentioned at the beginning of the stream, his gap to Sweet Crown is around 128 points in the Drivers' Championship.
I need to interrupt here. I just want to mention it was getting quite cloudy in qualifying, and now rain droplets starting to fall on the Albert Park circuit. So we have rainfall in qualifying, and this might mess up a few drivers who still need to get out of the session, and particularly into the wall. That's Own. I just flashed by him. He crashed, it looked like, out of turns 12 and 13, and yes, he did. And that is a huge crash, and Own out of the session in P15. would most likely not make it, because even Sophion, well, let's see, Sophion might not be able to set a faster time with this rainfall. It did just start, so he might get lucky. Let's see what Sophion does with the time. No, he only goes 17th fast. His own might be safe here because the rain is coming down, and this is going to really hurt chances for a lot of drivers. A few drivers in the session, though, who are up from P15 are going to be very happy with this set of events. ISRL Knight, who actually commented on the YouTube stream, it's going to be difficult to make it out of Q1. This has definitely helped him a lot, because now into Q2, rainfall has occurred in this first qualifying session.
Oh yeah, and from what I can see on the, from what I was able to see on the pit wall, it looks like things are probably going to get worse before they get better on track. Here as qualifying plays out, at least as far as the weather report's concerned, it even looks like, from what I can see with the track conditions on my end, it looks like that is confirming the case, as I can see the rain picking up on the screen.
And that was Gurman, who was on a lap actually and cut a huge portion of the chicane, and he is going to definitely be out of qualifying at this point, as he invalidated that time with only about 3 minutes to go. The track is only going to get worse from here.
Oh no, but Gurman is on an out lap, so he can go around one more time.
Well, then he might get, I don't know if he's going to get hurt for that, because he did cut a good portion of the track on the chicane.
Oh, I see. We'll have to see.
Oh, DRS disabled, and that's it for
Yeah.
Gurman. There's no way he's going to make it into the next session. DRS has been disabled. As you can see, he had a horrible time making it out of the final turn, and that might just seal the deal for Gurman, who is not going to make it into the next session. Neither will pretty much any other driver. Actually, most of the drivers either retired or Jer is a qualifying ban. So Fion did not set a good time and is going to be stuck in P17. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifying essentially over. 2 minutes left to go in the session. A few drivers are out on track still, but they will not be going any faster. So real quick, the lineup right now, it's Sweeker 19 fastest in Q1, Chappelle, Kush, Colin, Duwill, Rotation, Jamian, Pubed, Feral Fury, Josh 2, ISRL Carter, Callus, ISRL Knight, who again, very happy, I'm sure, to be getting into Q2. 14th for VR46 Urno, and 15th for Own. Despite the crash, he is going to make it into the next session, which he'll be very happy about. Out of the session is going to be Gurman, Sophion, Lewis, Jer, and Andin. And so those are your drivers out of qualifying, and that was Q1. It's only going to get more wet from here.
I was just going to say, Chappelle looks like he's preparing a little bit for these inevitable wet conditions, and as qualifying plays out, doing at least a banker lap and then maybe a little bit more on the intermediate tires. Oh no, going back into the pits now. But at least running a lap on the intermediate tires, just maybe getting used to the feel, because this might be what we're going to see as qualifying 2 plays out. And I'm looking at Jer putting on the full wet tires, going out for a bit of a banker lap here at the end of the session. Not going to be setting a lap, but I think just going out, maybe getting a feel of the car. Why he chose the full wet tires is beyond me. But either way, that's the tires he's going to be stuck with as he's going around the circuit.
Well, Gurman is going around in circles with some nice donuts for the Australian crowd, and we'll get back into the pit lane, though I don't know if he's celebrating or not, because that is it for him in qualifying. 16th on the grid, and he will not be happy about that, as you can just see him running into the pit lane, not happy with that session.
Yep, and speaking of donuts, I'm watching Jer get a few done on those full wet tires. Having trouble getting back on track, it looks like, after a spin out. And there we go, and looks like that's actually going to call it for the end of qualifying, as seems like even Albert Park Circuit got tired of Jer doing some donuts.
So it's Sweet Crown 19 fastest, 76 hundredths of a second, Chappelle in second, Kush 88 hundredths of a second, and then it's Colin about a 10th back in 4th position. Duo in 5th, 6th for Rotation, 6th for Jamie, and 7th for Pubed. Feral Fury in 9th, rounding off the top 10 at the moment, Josh 2, ISRL Carter in 11th, Callus in 12th, 13th for ISRL Knight, 14th for Yarno, and oh my goodness, Owen actually gets knocked out of qualifying. Yep. So it's Owen, Gurman, Sophion, Lewis, Jer, and Andin. So there are 20 drivers on the grid but Owen does not get the affection of the gods of Formula One because he is out of Q1, and I don't think he'll be too happy about that one.
Oh no, but there is actually a reasoning behind it, as I've come to deduce here, at least in the as far as the game is concerned. Given that Owen Ole had a bit of an incident, actually crashing out after turns, I believe it's 11 and 12 or 12 and 13, the fast left-right hand chicane. I believe if you do crash out, even if you do have a time on the board in full qualifying, that's your qualifying over just like that.
All right, so the game's being a little realistic at this point.
Yeah,
right?
I figure they assume that we can't.
We can't put the car back together. No, come on.
At the end, by the end of Q1 into Q2.
It's only the wheels. Only the wheels get damaged in the game. I think they could manage it. But here we are in Q2, and it is now very rainy in Q2. Feral Fury is going to be the first driver out, and he puts on the intermediate tires. So now we haven't seen a lot of rain in qualifying, so let's talk about the two wet weather tires that drivers have available to them. Of course, we have the intermediate tire, which is the more slightly grooved version, of course, of the soft tires. This is going to be with more light rain conditions, and then, of course, we have the heavy rain tires. As I'm getting some camera angles that are less than ideal with Feral Fury, so we'll just stick to the onboards because the cameramen don't know what they're doing. The intermediate tires, a little more grain with light rain conditions, and then the heavy rain tires, heavily grooved, recommended for heavy rain conditions, but even with the wet tires, it can be dangerous with very wet conditions. But at the moment we're at light rain, you can see already a bit of a racing line that had formed, which we don't know why it's formed because nobody's ran on track yet, but it has. And that is that dry portion of the track drivers are going to want to stick on. They don't want to be really adventuring off into the other portions of the track. You can start the aquaplane, and then you can have some very nasty moments. As here's turn in 12 and 13, as you can see Feral Fury almost lost it there. You can hear the tires screaming for help as he navigated the fast chicane, which is a little bit slower now with the rain falling down. But here we go, Q2 underway, 15 minutes, now 13 minutes and counting. Let's see what drivers can do in Q2 to make it into the top 10.
Oh yeah, and crucially, as I'm looking at my the data here on my screen, every single driver except for ISRL Carter is out on an out lap, looking to set a flying lap. So this could potentially be an indication of what's to come here in the weather. Because normally we see a little bit of space between the drivers. They don't like to all bunch up on the track because they might all get into each other's ways with the different pace. So the fact that they're all on track, I feel, right from the get-go could indicate that, as I was mentioning in qualifying 1, the rain is potentially going to get worse before it gets better here at Albert Park Circuit. And even looking at the onboard and the track conditions, it looks like that is the case, that I do think the rain is probably going to get worse as qualifying continues to play out here on this rainy Saturday.
So it is nail bite time as Josh 2 goes fastest in the first sector. It's time to pick up the pace because you got to get some times on the board, and that might be it for you today as it is rainy and we'll get more rain in qualifying. Q2 underway at the moment, but it might be over soon. Oh, Josh 2! He has hit the wall. He was fastest in the first sector, but he lost it around that sweeping right-hand turn before the chicane of doom for some drivers. And he has lost it well before then, though, and has hit his front wing, and that's not going to be very happy for him. That might be Josh 2 out of qualifying, if in fact you are correct, and the rain is going to pick up severely.
Yep, and that's the thing. Josh 2 had a bit of a spin, rotation set of 132.5, so we can already see the difference in time between the dry weather and these rainy conditions. And elsewhere on track, I saw Jamie 1 on the exit of right around turn 1, turn 2, had a bit of a moment as well. So that'll definitely affect his flying lap, as I'm seeing him going very slow, letting some other drivers through in the third sector.
So I'm watching on board of Sweet Crown 19, who is just making it around track. As I can definitely see the track is not exactly progressing well right now under the current conditions. But Sweet Crown 19, nonetheless, is going to come around the final turn to set a time on the intermediate tires. Will be pole position. Oh, he almost loses the back end. You can see really having a hard time controlling that Williams car. Comes across the line, will still go second fastest. So Sweet Crown 19 makes it in. And you can see the rain really starting to pelt down right now as we're in qualifying 2. And it is getting very, very nasty out there with the current conditions. Rainfall is aplenty right now at Albert Park, and most of your times are on the board. ISRL Knight did not make it into the top 10. He's currently sitting in 11th position, but as we know, the rain looks to be getting worse, and that might be it for Knight. He might only sit in 11th position. Carter and Jamie have not yet set times. They're a little bit far apart from each other, but Carter is about to come around the final turn to, he's in the first sector. It looked like it was a weird camera angle. So no, he's coming through the first sector now without a time. It's Jamie who's a little bit further ahead of him. And Jamie and Adventure off track, still keeping the time right though, but it is looking very treacherous if you're an intermediate tire runner, and these drivers may be out of qualifying before they even know it.
Oh yeah, and Carter choosing to go out a little bit later than everybody else on track, so we'll see if that'll be a bit more beneficial for him, in the sense that maybe with some other cars on track already, it's created a bit more of a racing line for the intermediates, or we might even see it not as beneficial for him, just with the way the conditions have worsened. And already Carter had a bit of a tank slapper coming out of turn 12, I believe, in the what would have been a DRS zone there. So that might affect his time as he's coming around the last few corners now. Even Jamie, his teammate, is going to set a time, and it's only a 1:34.9, which is good enough for 12th, which is the last of the cars who have set a time yet. But now as Carter's coming through the last line, we'll see if he can set a time a little bit quicker than his Mercedes teammates. What's it going to be? A little bit quicker. It's a 1:34.4. But not necessarily where the Mercedes team was probably hoping they would be here with 8.5 minutes to go in qualifying too.
So qualifying looks to be just about over. I wonder if any drivers have yet tried to take an adventure on the wet tires. No, they haven't. Sweet Crown 19 still out on track, but it's 132s now they're being set. Isaac Cush currently is actually fastest on track and will probably stay that way. Again, as you can see, the conditions are getting worse as we go on. And, somebody has had a moment, and that looked to be Feral Fury, who has saved it, though, and still has all of his front wing to play with. But let's see if anybody comes out of the pits anytime soon on the wet tires and tries to take an adventure on those. We don't know what the rain conditions will be in terms if it's going to be raining in the race, but qualifying is wet, so the race may follow suit.
Yep, and it looks we'll have to find out as we move on here in terms of what this will bring for the race. I'm actually riding with Josh too as he's coming through his the end of the first sector now. He doesn't have a time on the board, so really gonna have to set a lap time probably now or never. But with the way these conditions have been evolving, I think it might be a little too late for him. Unless he can truly find some pace that some of these other drivers can't necessarily find. But it looks like as long as he sets something quicker as long as he sets a time in the 1:33s, Josh 2 should be okay, but that's probably much easier said than done, I would think, given how treacherous these conditions look. And I'm even seeing it looks like the racing line is slowly but surely disappearing from view, at least in terms of the onboard cameras, from what I can see.
Let's see what he can do. Josh 2, number 22, coming around the final few turns, but it's not looking too hot right now for him, as he is going to come around that penultimate turn, very struggling, and running it on the curb. A big tank slapper from the rear. Comes around the final turn all right. He's got a McLaren behind him of Isaac Cush, and he's going to come across the line. Going 11th fastest. It's a 134.2. That's going to knock Carter down to 12. And he did all he could to get towards that 34.152 that VR Yarno had, but he did not get it. And he is going to be down in 11th and out of qualifying. And I think right there, tells you the current conditions. Callis is on an outlap right now and is in fact he's actually on the intermediate tire still, so drivers still think it's time for intermediates, and I think that's probably true, but it's on that cutoff point of between the intermediate and the wet tires. As you can still see part of the racing line, it's a little tricky to tell. And they're saying it's going to dry up at the end. So I'm getting a report from rotation. At the end of Q2, it's supposed to dry up, but there's only about 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the session. So no idea if it's going to be enough time, but drivers are saying that it's going to dry up at the end of this qualifying session.
Oh, so that might make things a little bit interesting here come the end of qualifying. And I'm actually seeing on my end extra rotation sitting in the pit lane with the soft tires on, so potentially riding, hoping that it does dry up by the end of qualifying, so you can sneak in potentially a dry lap in by the end of the session. But at least from what I can see for the time being, it looks like as if it's going to be wet for the next little while, as the rain is showing no signs of stopping. With this onboard, and it looks like, as you were saying, these conditions are looking a bit more in between inters to wets, closer to the intermediates, leaning towards the dries.
We'll have to wait and see. Josh 2 decided to go for another lap, so he is coming down what would have been a DRS straight, and we'll see, can he go faster? I'm riding on board of him right now, so we'll see what that Sector 1 split's going to be. Can he go quicker than the last lap? Get himself into the top 10. A few drivers are going to be able to adventure onto the softer compound tires, if in fact they even can. So let's see, coming up towards the end of Sector 1, it is slower currently in the first sector for Josh 2. It's still only about under 0.3 of a second, though, so still some time to make up. But, ooh, he has an adventure on the outside portion of that part of the track. That's no racing line if I ever saw one, and that might be it for this current lap. But actually, you can see, ooh, really struggling. May have overcooked the tires. I'm noticing the rain maybe getting a little bit more lighter. It looks like it might be drying up just a bit. Is he going to be correct? Will rotation be right? I mean, we do know that the track definitely dries up a lot quicker than it does, in fact, get wet. So if it does stop raining near the end, then there might be a chance. But rotation, I think, might be a little bit over-ambitious here. It might be more looking like towards a Q3 dry session, more so than a Q2 dry portion, because it's really raining right now. There's only about 3 minutes about or so left to go in the session, and it is still pelting right now with rain.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking too, because it is one thing to say the rain is going to stop before the end of qualifying, but it's another thing to have the track dry up to the point where dry tires are the better tires. And at least now, with 3 minutes to go now left in qualifying too, there's still rain falling. The track definitely looks more wet than dry, I would say. So I'm actually with you on that. That may be a little ambitious, hoping for the dry conditions before the end of qualifying too. Which is maybe not what you're hoping for if you're sitting in the bottom 5, but maybe hoping you could sneak out and get an extra lap done in the dry tires, but it seems like as if we're gonna have to deal with the intermediate conditions until the end of qualifying too, from what I can tell.
I'm going to bring up the details again. So yeah, rotation's still sitting on that soft compound tire, but the time to get out and set another lap is draining very quickly. And yeah, I don't believe we're going to be seeing any dry running at the moment unless somebody foolishly goes out on this current conditions. As we do see somebody coming out, that's Josh 2 again on the intermediate tires, new intermediate tires, and immediately humps over a curb and invalidates the outlap. But he wants to make it into the next session. He really thinks he can do so. Now, if we're believing rotation, he said it was going to get drier near the end. Is it going to get better near the end? So maybe Josh 2, Josh 2 actually cuts a major portion of the track right there, so he might get a penalty for that, because you're not allowed to cut portions of the track to get another lap in. And we might just have seen that right there from Josh 2. I'm not too sure if he's trying to get out of the way of Isaac Cush or not, but we'll have to wait and see if he cuts anything else.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But no, it looks like even rotation, I think, realized as well that it wasn't the case. As he actually retired from qualifying too, but with that sitting in third, he's looking pretty comfortable in terms of being able to make it through into qualifying 3. But even Izat and Sweet Crown going out looking to set some more times, probably looking to shoot out one against the other to try and who can maybe flex their muscles a little bit going into qualifying 3. Colin, he crossed the line and it wasn't a quick time, 4 seconds slower. So that might even have an indication of what the conditions are like out there, as Colin went slower this time around than he did on his last lap. But I mean, now with 20 seconds to go in qualifying 2, we've got lots of drivers out on their flying laps now.
Oh, and somebody into the wall. That was Knight. Knight was on into the wall on an out lap, and he was trying to get around for another lap. That's not going to happen now because he just had a massive moment, and I think Knight might be really screaming at himself right there. I'm sure he wasn't, but he is screaming internally because he's not going to make it around with that spin.
Oh no, not what he was hoping for. A little bit of oversteer, I think, and potentially the weather conditions as well playing into effect. But that ends his qualifying for him before it truly began, I guess we could say, with that true flying lap. So not what he was hoping for, but normally we see Knight show up a little bit more with the race than we do in qualifying. Always seems to have a bit more race pace, it seems. So we'll have to keep an eye on him and what he's able to do, starting from 14th on the grid come race time.
So I do want to mention Chappelle did retire on track, but it is after the session, so I think he can get away with that one. Rotation says, Jeff played me. It's going to be drying up at the end of Q3, so we'll have to wait and see if Jeff didn't play him again. But nonetheless, Q2 is over, and our top 10 is settled. It's Isaac Kush, fastest. Sweetcrown 19, second. URC Rotation, third. Colin in fourth position.
Has anything to say about it? And
Josh changes the order and is into ninth position. As the track improved, so did Josh 2's time.
VR is coming around as well, looking to see if he can squeeze into qualifying 3.
No, he cannot.
No. He went faster, but still missing about 4/10 to squeeze into qualifying 3. So Pube can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief as he's just able to squeeze into qualifying 3 by, as I said, about 4/10 of a second.
So that is the end of Q2, and let's go over that top 10 one more time because it has changed thus far. It is Isaac Kush, Sweetcrown 19, and URC Rotation running off the top 3. Fourth position for Colin, fifth for Chappelle, and that is your top 5 in Q2. Sixth for Phil Fury, Do Will in seventh. Eighth for Callus, ninth for Josh 2. Pugh makes it into Q3 after another reserve race. So again, just showing the same kind of amazing pace he has, whether you're on the game for every day or you haven't made it in a few months, as he said. Pubed really showing well. Knocked out of Q1 is Yarno, Carter, Jamian, and Knight out of the second qualifying session. Knight will be happy to make it into Q2, I think, though, as he was struggling. He said struggling to make it out of Q1, so I think Q2 will be all right for him. But nonetheless, the top 10 shootout is about to begin in qualifying 3, and it sounds like it's going to dry up either at the end of qualifying 3. We'll see if it's dry now in the start of Q3. And it is raining, but severely less than before. So we're definitely going to see, I believe, some dry running near the end of the session. Now, I don't know if a lot of drivers are going to necessarily go out on track to set times due to the fact it is raining. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and that's what I was a little bit worried about. If it is going to get dry before the end of qualifying, we might be in for a bit of a long wait in the pit box for when it does get dry. And I'm already seeing rotation getting ready with those soft tires for when the dry conditions do happen to arrive. But actually, thankfully for everybody watching at home, we've got at least a car going on track. It looks like that's some Do-Will, I believe.
We have a few drivers about to go on track right now. It looks like somebody else. Josh 2.
Right.
Isaac Kush is going to go out on track. So we have a few drivers who will run on the intermediate tire. But as I said, URC Rotation is getting ready with that soft compound tire. Let's make sure he's hoping Jeff did him well this time, as he is going to wait to come out on track for it to be optimal for that dry compound tire. I'm going to ride on board of Josh too, and you can just see the difference in rainfall as we make it into Q3. Much less than before, and in fact we expect, according to rotation, it's going to dry up near the end and we'll get some very blistering Q3 times on the board.
Oh yeah, definitely not as not raining as hard as it was before, but you can still definitely make out the line on the track as you normally can in these more wet conditions. So I do think it is a good idea from a lot of these drivers who have gone out to just get out there, get a banker lap set, just in case it does happen to stay wet through this whole 12 minutes of qualifying. Better to have a time on the board than not have a time at all, because especially in the wet conditions, you never really know what could happen, and that way you're prepared in case it doesn't switch over to the dry conditions.
Josh, too, out there right now. We have a lot of drivers out. Pretty much everybody, in fact, is out except Sweetcrown 19 and URC Rotation. The only driver is not currently out right now is actually Sweetcrown does come out and will be out on the intermediate tire. So URC Rotation currently, oh no, he comes out as well. So everybody's just going to put a time on the board, it looks like, and get something at least, because you just don't know if it's going to be okay and good for dry tires later.
Yep, that's the thing. And as I was watching the stream, Do Will was going to be the first car to set a flying lap, but looks like he ran into maybe a little bit of connection issues as he's back in the pits. So now Callus is leading the way of the drivers on their flying laps. Purple Sector 1, of course, as we're just kicking things off, but we'll see what kind of times these drivers are going to put up, as it does look like the rain is slowly but surely slowing up a little bit from what I can see on the screen. It's just a matter of whether it'll slow up in time or not for some dry runners before the end of qualifying 3. But we already have a yellow flag. Is that anything? No, that was just rotation letting some drivers through. Okay.
And Isaac Kush currently fastest man in the first sector. And we have Chappelle, who's about to come near the end of the first sector. Colin is currently in the third sector right now. We'll see what he can do, as he might be, except for Callus. Let's see what Callus is going to do. Actually, Callus is invalidated at that time, so it's really Colin right now. And Chappelle has gone fastest in the first sector. In fact, let's see Colin. He's coming through the penultimate, the penultimate now, and then the final turn. And let's see what Colin can do. Coming across the line in the Renault. What time is he going to set on the board? And it's going to be a 131.6. So you can just see the improvement, because before it was a 132, I believe, for fastest time. We are really seeing some track improvement now. Isaac Kush, second fastest on the grid. We got Pubed, who is coming around the final turn right now. Let's see what he can do in the Renault in the wet conditions. Pugh comes across the line, 132.6, significantly off the time of Colin. In fact, it's almost a full second, and about 0.8 of a second slower than Isaac Kush. Feral Fury goes in with a 131.8, third fastest, and then Pubed is going to drop down to fifth, as we have another fastest time, and it's Chappelle with a 130.9. What a time! As you can just tell, the track is getting way more dry and way more competitive.
Oh yeah, definitely much more manageable for the drivers here in Q3 than it was in Q2. And as you said, the lap times are showing for it. Already now seeing at the beginning of qualifying 3, lap times are much quicker than what we saw in qualifying 2 right at the end, already into the 130s and the 131s. And we'll have to take a look and see what kind of time the championship leader can set, as he's coming around the penultimate corner now in that Williams car, also on the intermediate tires. But we'll see if he can take that provisional pole position away from Chappelle, who set a very fast 130.9. And no, that wasn't quick enough. Sweetcrown 19 setting a 131.5. So Chappelle still sitting in provisional pole here with about 6 minutes to go in qualifying.
And it's still raining, which is the big key part. So remember, your rotation said end of Q3. We should expect to see good conditions for dry running, but the rain is still coming down at portions of the track. It's very, very light, but it's there, and the track will continue to stay wet with that being the case. Sweetcar 19, though, has already gone fastest in the first sector, and that was after that hot lap. So is he going for it again? Looks like he is, because he's not happy right now with being in second. I don't blame him. You want to be on pole position, especially leading the championship. Chappelle currently fastest on track, but Sweetcar 19 going to try to close the door on a possibility for that happening, and fastest second sector. So Sweetcar 19, and that's an invalidation in the chicane.
Yeah, so quick sector 1, quick sector 2 for the championship leader, but gets a little bit too angsty around that fast chicane and invalidates his time. So we'll have to go around once again. But you know, it's not a crazy strategy, especially with the intermediate tires, to set 2 flying laps on these tires. Just because you might not have the tires in the operating range as much as you'd like after 1 lap, so it could be beneficial to go around for an extra lap.
I want to mention here, I was on board of Callis, and the rain, I think the rain has stopped, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
The rain is done and over, and you can just see the those tires, those intermediate tires, aren't necessarily spraying nearly as well, and the track is drying up very, very quickly. It is time, boys. It's dry weather conditions, and all those times you see right now, they mean nothing.
Oh yeah, down to 4 minutes to go, and it's going to be down to the wire. And looking at the fitted tires here on the display, we have Chappelle and Pubed already putting on the getting ready with the soft tires for to get 1 more lap in and probably completely annihilate the times we currently see on the board. As you said, probably going to be at least, I would say, 10 seconds faster than that. And I'm seeing more drivers getting ready with those dry tires for probably in about maybe a minute and a half's time to come out and get 1 last lap in hopes that the track is dried up enough to make it worthwhile running in the dry tires.
Now, it's going to be interesting because the track, while it definitely just stopped raining, is not going to be very optimal in terms of track temperature. Definitely probably actually better in Q1 than it will be in Q3. So we're going to see how these tires operate currently in these conditions. But as the track is now dry, drivers are going to be getting ready very soon to put on their soft tires and get out on track. As you can see, more drivers now. That's Callis. And I hear a car coming out, and it is the Ferrari of Josh 2. So Josh 2 is the first man to venture out on track, and we'll see what he can do. I'm trying to get the game to activate that view.
Yeah, potentially a little bit of the, I guess, the experimental.
I still can't, still not letting me look at Josh 2.
Yep, there we go. Finally worked for me, as I just had to scroll around.
It's not happening yet.
I just had to switch drivers and go around the order up until I got to Josh 2. So
there we go. Thank you, cameraman.
Yeah.
Getting a little lazy. Oh, I can only view the onboard, so I can't look at him on anything else other than this. So there's the track.
Would actually explain it.
So there's the track, and you can see it is very dry. But Josh 2 is very cautious on this lap. He doesn't want to ruin these tires.
Yeah, I think potentially a little bit of an experimental drive for Josh with everybody else.
And there's the external
but I'm seeing somebody else coming out on track as well. Is that
that's Chappelle?
That's actually Chappelle coming out now, and I'm seeing even now that's either Pubed or Colin coming out. On those, Pubed is going out, but he's choosing the intermediate tires rather than the soft tires to set his last lap. So a little bit of a split strategy, I guess, for these drivers setting their 1 last times. And looking at how cautious Josh is being on his outlap, just compared to some of the pace Pube's having, maybe it wasn't time just yet for these soft tires.
I don't know. I mean, the spray is there, but it's not going to be there for long. I don't really think this is going to work for Pube. We'll have to wait and see, but I really do believe it is definitely time for the soft tires. There's still, we can't see the track conditions on the stream. It looks fine. Of course, the drivers may feel a little differently. As I'm riding on board with Chappelle, let's see how quickly he takes the chicane. Really doesn't take it quick at all. So maybe Pube is right. It doesn't. The track doesn't look bad.
No, but I was just gonna say, just looking, it might just be Josh 2 going very slow around the circuit. As looking at some of these other drivers on these soft tires, are able to take these corners much faster. And there
DRS is enabled. There you go.
Yep, so we just saw it, so definitely change over time. So for Pube and Colin out on the intermediate tires, potentially not the tire they were hoping for here to set their last lap on.
And here we go. The end of qualifying is near. There's still drivers who are not around right now on track. I want to mention only 11 seconds left to go, and there's some drivers. Sweet Crown 19 hasn't come around yet for a time. Sweet Crown 19, only 4 seconds to go. Sweet Crown 19 is not going to make it around for another time. Qualifying is over. Sweet Crown 19 can't challenge for points. At Kush can't either. A few drivers are screwed here in qualifying. They did not get around fast enough. I think they were waiting with Josh. Josh 2 is probably waiting for DRS to activate, but those drivers are done. And pole position at the moment is going to go to Chappelle, and Sweet Crown 19 can't challenge him.
No, and unless, I guess, Pube, Josh, or Callus has anything to say about it, that might actually be a very easy pole position for Chappelle here. In qualifying, as a little bit of potentially some miscommunication in the various pit walls of a lot of these drivers, not being able to figure out how much time it'll take to get around the track, so that they have enough time to set their laps, as we've only got 4 drivers now to cross the line, and already it looks like they're coming near the end of their laps. So for the likes of Josh, 2, Callus, and Pube, for the very least, we'll see what kind of times they can put up, and if they can improve.
Shades of Monza 2019. Josh goes fastest. Chappelle 26.9, and that is pole position. Callus goes second fastest, and he will be very happy with that, ahead of the Ferrari driver. Only one driver left to set a time. Pube did not improve on those intermediate tires, and it is Chappelle with a play pole position. What a end to qualifying. Shades of Monza in 2019. That is the it for qualifying, and it's FRL Chappelle on pole position. Callus in second. Third for Josh 2. Sweet Crown 19 is in fourth after not being able to set a time. Colin in fifth. Isaac Cush in sixth. Seventh for Feral Fury. Pubed in eighth. Ninth for rotation, and 10th for Will, who did not set a time in qualifying.
Nope, I think Duil was potentially running into some connection issues, which is why he was not able to set a time. But still starting from 10th, and I mean, I guess if there is some good news, if you're anybody here in the top 10, is that you get a free choice of tires if it is going to be a dry race, as we're going to find out in just a moment, given that the intermediate tires were the tires used to set their times in qualifying too.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're right. Oh, so that's going to be interesting. Ooh. And it is in fact very nice and sunny here in Albert Park. And let's get set for action, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifying is done. We're here for the 50% race. It's the Albert Park Circuit. You're watching live coverage of round number 12 of the ISRL Esports Tier 1 Formula 1 World Championship race here for the Australian Grand Prix. My name is ISRL. I'm joined by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. If you're enjoying the stream, make sure to leave a like on it and make sure to subscribe to the ISRL YouTube channel if you enjoy the rest of our content. And hit the notification bell so you never miss a race or video. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter for more action and news from ISRL Esports. We're just waiting for everybody to load up onto the track, and we'll get set for the formation lap. I'll go over the grid order one more time for you during that time. And session start in about 27 seconds.
As I believe either Andon or Lewis who readied up to get the session started up. So drivers who are maybe taking a bit of a breather, time to get back to your seats, kick things off with a formation lap that's starting in about 10 seconds now. And I'm excited to see what the drivers are going to do in terms of strategy, given they all get free choice of tires. We might see some drivers starting on the hard tires, maybe some mediums. I still think soft to hards is the optimal strategy. But actually, it looks like we've got a bit of a whole bunch of different tire
we got a mix here. Let's go over all of it right now. Pole position has gone to FRL Chappelle, who elects the medium compound tire on pole position. It's Callis in second position in the Haas, currently on the soft tire. Josh 2 selects the soft as well. He will start third. Predicted pit stop strategy, by the way, soft to hard tire or medium to hard tire is the predicted pit stop strategy by Amazon Web Services F1 Insights. Sweetcrown 19 in fourth position. Championship leader selects the soft compound tire. Colin selects the medium tire in fifth position. Isaac Cush will start in sixth on the medium tires as well. Feral Fury on the soft tire in seventh position. Pubed in eighth position is on the soft tire. URC rotation is going to be on the mediums, and then Do-Will in 10th position on the medium tires as well. Still a few drivers left to go, actually, with free tire choice. Yarno on the medium tire, Carter in the soft compound tire, Jamian on the soft tire in 13th. ISRL Knight is on the hard compound tire in 14th position. TNR Own also on the hard compound tire in 15th. 16th for Gurman, also on the hard tire. So very predictable strategy for the Red Bull drivers. Sophion will start on the medium tire in 17th position. Jer in 18th position with that qualifying ban. And he has a lot of work to do if he wants to keep up with Sweetcrown 19 and the championship. They're quite a ways away from each other in this race. He starts on the mediums in 18th. Andon in 19th position on the soft compound tire. And ISRL Lewis, who had that incident in qualifying with the invalidation and then, in fact, actually retired in the pit lane, will start P20 on the soft compound tire, as there is FRL Chappelle lining up on his pole position spot here at the Albert Park circuit. It's the Australian Grand Prix. Chappelle on pole position, Callis lining alongside him. Again, there is your predicted pitch stop strategy, soft to hard or medium to hard. F1 Insights, powered by Amazon Web Services. 29 laps around the Albert Park circuit as we get ready for the 5 red lights for round number 12 in the championship. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the lights are out, and away we go, and it's FRL Chappelle who gets a pretty good start. And into turn number 1, it looks like there's going to be a Ferrari who's ghosted. On the inside is the Haas, and it's going to try to take the lead of the race, but no, in fact, there's a Ferrari who is ahead of everybody, but I think there's some problems on track right now. A lot of drivers are ghosted right now. I don't know if ghosting is, in fact, on or not, but nonetheless, we have a Ferrari.
There. That was rotation that went wide.
But I'm not too sure what's why we have a Ferrari on the lead of this race. But no, is it Josh 2? Josh 2 somehow leads this this Australian Grand Prix. Was there a jump start? I'm not too sure. But Chappelle nonetheless is in second position. Sweetcrown 19 in third.
And Andon actually in just at the start of Sector 2 went for a bit of a spin around, took some wing damage, and he falls all the way down.
And look at this side by side. Sweetcrown 19 on the inside into the chicane and takes second position. FRL Chappelle now down to third, and now he's got Callis right behind him trying to challenge. But look at this. This is a three-way battle right now. Chappelle back into second, and now side by side Callis and Sweetcrown 19. Sweetcrown has the inside line and gets ahead of the Haas driver. Now the Haas driver is going to try to challenge around the outside in the penultimate turn and still giving him room. But now Sweetcrown 19 takes third position. So some big battles right now already in this race. But it is FRL Chappelle who came out ahead of them all with a very, very scrappy couple of laps right there. And look at this. Sweetcrown 19 in third position. Callis in fourth position. Feral Fury under pressure right now from Pubed, who's had a great start, by the way, was in P... what time? forgot where he qualified, but he's in P6 right now.
Yeah, P7, up into 5th, it looks like, from what I've got with the movement. Josh, too, at least from what I can see initially, it looks like he just had a great start. It's showing him up 2 spots in the lead of the race. And, well, crucially, as Knight and Owen are going side by side here, and actually now Knight and Jer going side by side. Jer's made up a whole bunch of positions off the start of the race, already up into 12th. And looking to pass Onole to go up into 11th already here, about a lap and a half into the race.
Into the chicane, definitely not a move there, but Jer up to 12th, making up big progress right now. Will in P10 trying to get past VR Yarno. We got a battle down here, and look at this. Feral Fury and Pube are having a battle right now, and sorry, it was Colin, looks like. Sorry, Colin and Feral Fury having a bit of a battle right there, as right on the rear diffuser is Colin. And this is a really awesome race so far. Fastest lap for Josh, too, 123.6 in the Ferrari. Chappelle is back by about 2.4 seconds. DRS has now been enabled. If you're within 1 second of the car behind you, you can now use DRS to help you pass the car in front of you. And let's see if we see any drivers who are going to be using that DRS to their advantage. No, not yet, it looked like, actually.
Oh, yeah, and something I have to say that's very crucial for Josh, too, in the early stages of the race is that we saw Chappelle, Sweet Crown, Callus, Pube. They were all battling amongst themselves in the first lap in a little bit, which actually allowed Josh to, with the clean air and nobody but to bother him, to actually build a 2.3 second gap to second. So now that the DRS is enabled, he's out of DRS range already of second and can sit fairly comfortably for the time being with that 2 second gap.
But somebody who's not sitting comfortably is Chappelle right now, because he's got Sweet Crown 19 behind him, who has some DRS now coming down the straight. Is he going to make a move on the inside? No, but he looks for it. But Chappelle is under a lot of pressure right now. Sweet Crown 19 championship leader behind him in that very reminiscent, very classic Ferrari Michael Schumacher helmet, as they're coming around the final turn. Andon already has a 3 second time penalty for multiple warnings. Now we have, again, DRS now on the main straight. Will Sweet Crown 19 make a challenge in the turn 1 and get into second position? No, he will stay patient for now, though very, very close to it. ISRL Lewis picks up a 3 second time penalty of his own for the first time in this race. There may be a few more coming his way if he's already in trouble that early on in the race. But nonetheless, Josh, too, 2.1 seconds, so it is starting to go down a little bit. But if Sweet Crown 19 and Chappelle battle, that we may not see that happen, as we're on lap number 4 of 29.
Oh yeah, and I have to say, Gerdman went for a bit of a lost it a little bit in the in that last DRS section after turn 12. So another victim there as he falls down the order. And I do have to say, with the battle between Chappelle, Sweet Crown, Callus, and everybody else, who that is really helping is actually Jer, who started from the back up into 11th now, and he's looking to work his way back up the grid. And the longer these cars to the front can battle, the more beneficial it is for Jer in his
and there's a pass.
The grid. But
Sweet Crown 19 passes to get into second position in this race. So he has gone past the Alfa Romeo of Chappelle, who seems to be struggling right now, as Sweet Crown 19 is on that soft compound tire, so a little more grip at the start of this race. Chappelle on the medium compound tire. We're starting to see a little bit of connection issue between some of the drivers, a little bit of jittering on track. Hopefully that clears itself up as we go further into the race, but fastest man on track, it's your boy Sweet Crown 19, and Josh, too. His gap from first and second is starting to fall, 1.6 seconds already, as Sweet Crown 19 now into second and looking for first.
Oh yeah, so already, right as I was talking about it in terms of Jer, we saw Sweet Crown 19 pass Chappelle, and now the beast has been unleashed, and already we're seeing that gap close. It was at 2.3 seconds, already down to a second and a half now, and closing very quickly. So Josh really gonna have to pick up the pace now if he wants to keep Sweet Crown 19 behind him. And now it's only lap 5, so it's going to take lots of battling for Josh to try to keep Sweet Crown 19 behind. Already the gap now back down to 1.1 second. So in a span of half a lap, already basically in DRS range, and nearly ready to battle for the lead now.
Riding on board of Duo, you can see in the slipstream right now of Yarno, who does not have DRS, and there's a call. It's Jamie, who's made a pass on Colin. Now Colin tries to look on the inside, but decides against it. So it's Jamie now up in the 7th position. We may see a pass happen quite soon, though, on the next DRS straight. But now here we go on the DRS straight. Suicron 19 wasn't in within DRS range just yet, but he will be coming on this next DRS straight. The gap is now 9/10 of a second. Josh 2 is in a world of trouble right now because he's got the red hot Williams right now behind him, but no, he doesn't use DRS down the straight.
Oh, and Callis had a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 2, it looks like, and he's facing the wrong way and losing plenty of time now, having to let other drivers go past him so that he can join the track.
He's got a severe collision with Pubed, so Pubed has wing damage, so he has a 5-second penalty for a collision with Pubed. I'm not too sure what happened there. I don't know if it's just because he was spun on track, but nonetheless, Callis is all the way down in 15th position.
Safety car now, and I believe that's actually because of Gernman, who after about a lap earlier having a bit of an incident after turn 11, which we're seeing Josh 2 and Suicron 19 come up to. I think he had another incident this time around, which ended his race. So not what the Red Bull driver was hoping for here on lap 6. That's the end of his race with a 20th position to show for it there. But for Josh too, it's a bit of a breather now under the VSC, so you can relax a little bit in this, knowing that Sweet Crown 19 is right behind him and hunting him down.
Into the pits is Sweet Crown 19, and so is Josh too. So pit stops for the soft tire runners. Chappelle will stay out, of course. He was on the medium compound tire, so we're under virtual safety car right now, and it still hasn't ended. Sweet Crown 19 comes out on the medium compound tire. So now back under green flag conditions, and this is played pretty well in the Sweet Crown 19's hands. We'll see where he comes out, and he's going to be behind Jer at the moment. Now Jer has started on the medium compound tire, so he's going to go a little longer than Sweet Crown 19. We'll see if this plays in the Sweet Crown 19's hands or not. Has this been the right move to pit under VSC?
It might be a bit of a tough one, because now Sweet Crown's going to have a lot of work to do getting back out in 12th on the grid. He's really going to have to work his way back up, and that's going to be lots of overtaking that he himself and the likes of Josh too are going to have to do. But then again, they've already got their pit stops done now. It was still at least partially under the virtual safety cars, so they did save a little bit of time on their pit stops compared to everybody else who still has yet to pit. And barring a safety car or another VSC, they're going to have to pit under full race conditions, so they might lose even more time than Sweet Crown 19 and Josh 2 have on their pit stops.
So again, it was a soft to medium one-stop strategy, so Sweet Crown 19 should be actually done till the end of the race, but it was a little earlier than expected. Again, these are new soft tires that the drivers were running, as they have free tire choice because they set their fastest time on wet tires in Q2. So it's interesting that they pitted so early. Is that going to come into effect later on in the race, a little earlier than we expected for the medium tire runners to make their pit stops? But Jamian has found himself in 3rd position and now chasing down Feral Fury, looking for 2nd position, and Chappelle pretty alone right now, 6.6 seconds ahead of Feral Fury in the lead of this race on the medium compound tire. We'll have to wait and see whether Sweet Crown 19 can make up the progress necessary to make this strategy work. Josh 2 sitting in 12th position right now behind Sweet Crown 19, and Sweet Crown 19 currently chasing down Isaac Kush and a little bit of pack of cars ahead of him, in fact, who are in a bit of a three-way battle right now, as Sweet Crown 19 has gone fastest in the first sector on that medium compound tire. So definitely still on the pace right now. And a big lockup from Isaac Kush, and he's going to try to make a move on the inside. And Isaac Kush said, "No, thank you, sir. That is not where you make an overtake on me," and it didn't happen. And that could have been a very bad situation for Isaac Kush. But now Sweet Crown 19 will have another run on this DRS straight, but Isaac Kush will be helped by his DRS, so actually not too much of a run, in fact, as we head towards lap number 9. And Sweet Crown 19 in traffic right now, and this is, again, all these kind of things are going to hurt him if he wants to make it back into the lead of the race.
Oh, definitely can't be stuck behind. Can't be stuck behind these cars for too long if he wants any chance to close up. Because we're seeing Chappelle starting to grow the gap to Feral Fury between first and second. Now, I was taking a look on track, and I saw ISRL Lewis actually retiring in the pit lane, so not being happy with his race, as Do Will and VR are going side by side through turns 3 and 4.
Sweetcar 19 actually are also going side by side, I wanted to mention, and gets past Owen Ole and into 9th position. Meanwhile, Josh 2 has not kept up with this pack, and look at this. Do Will is in 7th position right now. Sweetcar 19.
Jer actually overtook Do Will, caught Do Will napping after the battle with VR, so now we've got the AlphaTauris 5 and 6.
This is a big battle right now for 10th position. Ooh, Josh 2, is he going to make a move on the inside? Yes, he will. Big dive bomb, and he makes the move, almost takes off the front wing of the Racing Point, but now the Racing Point has a challenge back, and no, actually sticks back behind him, and Knight is going to be loving this one if he's going to want to get involved in this battle.
Oh yeah, Knight's got a little bit of room he's going to have to make, and actually Jamie 1 and Feral Fury going side by side. We've got a battle for P2 now, going through the last few corners, almost a 3-car battle. They're still side by side in the very slow left-hander. Looks like Jamie is just able to eke out that second, but now going down the start-finish straight, it's anybody's game, but Feral Fury has to watch out for Colin, who's looking to go down the inside as well. And now it looks like Colin is up into 3rd, Feral in 4th, and Jamie 1 can still sit in 2nd, although not necessarily comfortably, knowing that he's got these 2 drivers right behind, waiting to make a move.
But all of that has happened, and now Chappelle has made it a 10-second gap between 1st and 2nd position. Again, this helps Chappelle in his battle to keep this position. Sweetcar 19 is sitting in 8th position, 4.2 seconds back from Do Will, and then further up the pack, it's about a few tenths of a second separating everybody, and then 10 seconds from Jamie and Chappelle. So FRL Chappelle will be making his pit stop soon onto the hard compound tire to go till the end of the race. His tires will be a little newer than Sweetcar 19's, which will help him in the long game. And we'll see if it helps him in the short game, staying out where he is right now, as he should be making his pit stop very soon and going till the end of the race.
Oh yeah, but the key if you're Chappelle, at least at this point in time, is you've got nearly an 11-second gap, and it's growing. So I think the key is, as long as this gap keeps growing, you can stay out on those medium tires, because he's putting himself in a very good situation now to potentially even be able to take a pit stop and maybe only lose 1 or 2 positions.
Feral Fury makes a pit stop.
Yeah, but that promotes VR and everybody else behind him. I'm seeing Jer potentially getting a little bit impatient, being stuck behind VR, looking to get a move on. Colin is very close to Jamie 1 once again, and he has DRS, and he's going to try something down the outside going into turn 3. There's some contact.
Oh, and a spin!
Jamie 1 spins
into the wall.
Jamie.
And he's going to reverse back on track. He's got a boo! That was almost a disaster for Sweetcar 19, and he was lucky to have ghosting on right there, because that could have been the end of the race very quickly. No idea what Jamie was doing reversing like that, but that was almost a complete disaster for Sweetcar 19, and he was happy to have phased through him. But that might be a penalty for Jamie, and regardless, you can't predict whether or not ghosting's going to come on in a situation like that, and you may see that reported after the race. As Andon has had a crash.
He
retires in the pit lane. So he is done.
Yeah, Andon not happy with his race and choosing to retire here on lap 11. So, oh my goodness, and that's Owen Ole. That's out. After a bit of an incident here in the after turn 11 and 12, so once again we're seeing another victim. I think that's the 3rd here today in Tier 1, as we have a virtual safety car now that has come out. So some of these drivers using the opportunity to go into the pits. Chappelle was a little bit too far when that happened, so he's sticking around for at least 1 more lap, and so is Jer and Do Will for that matter.
So we have 16 drivers remaining. We are back under racing conditions right now. 15 seconds is the gap between Jer and Chappelle, 14 seconds. And then back forward, ISRL Knight, 11 seconds between Do Will and him. Sweet Crown 19 is down in 8th position, so he is not going to keep the lead of the race after these pit stops. Josh 2 really has not been helped after that VSC stop. He's down all the way in now 14th position after he had that issue, so Josh 2 will be kicking himself. And oh, there's somebody off. That's Callis. Callis has had a problem, and there are many drivers spitting out of this race, and that is some front wing damage. He's going to have to find a time, and there he goes. He's now going to get back on track with Jamie and the final driver that had to pass him. But a lot of drivers not happy on that medium compound tire near the end of their strats, and now even the hard tires for Callis. So some drivers not finding their way on that tire. Chappelle has now made his pit stop, and he's going to go onto the hard tire till the end of the race. Can he keep it alive on this hard compound tire? DeWill is going to come across. Is he going to take the lead of the race? Yes, he is on the medium tire. So DeWill takes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. We'll see how long that is going to happen for. And Chappelle comes out unchallenged by Sweet Crown 19. And Sweet Crown 19 may be very, very unhappy with how he has held this strat. He may not find himself even close to a win here. Currently with what's going on right now, he's going to make a move on the inside, though, of Yarno and get that position. And now, look at this. It's Jer who has made it ahead after a pit stop on Sweet Crown 19. This is going to be a very, very interesting battle.
Oh, but they're very close to one another. We've got a nice little four-car battle here. And soon to be more with Izat and Pube looking to get in on this action as well. So we're in for a good showing here on lap 13. Between the AlphaTauris and the Williams here.
And there is Onole, who has left the session pretty defeated after that crash in turns 12 and 13. And he will not be happy with how that went for himself. But here is Jer, currently under pressure right now from Sweet Crown 19, who is looking to get ahead of his championship rival right now. And they're about to come onto that DRS straight, which Jer has no help with right now. Going to ride on board of Sweet Crown 19. Is he going to look on the inside? He definitely looks, but a little bit too far back to be making a move anytime soon. And surely, though, maybe on the start-finish line, will make a challenge on the inside and try to get ahead of Jer right now, who is on that hard compound tire, but they're brand new, and he's going to be going a little bit longer into the race and have a little bit more tire life than Sweet Crown 19 will, which, again, may affect Sweet Crown 19 very much longer into the race. There's surely a move on the inside by Sweet Crown 19. He gets the move done. Isaac Kutch is going to make a challenge on the inside and get into 8th position. Feral Fury is going to try to defend, but he can't do so, and he's going to stick behind it from the McLaren. And that is, again, though, a move for Sweet Crown 19 up into P5.
Yep, I'm looking at that. Sweet Crown up into 5th, and it seemed like just a few laps ago, it looked like Jer almost had this strategy all into the bag. As VR went a little bit wide out of turn 4, and now going side by side with Izat, and actually VR gets pushed a little bit wide and loses out to Feral Fury as well on track after having to come out. And we're only down to 15 drivers now, as Callis opted to end his to retire in the pit lane after taking a second spin after turn 2. So not the weekend he was hoping for here for tier 1, but can probably bounce back next weekend. I'm seeing Colin putting pressure on ISRL Knight for the last podium position. Knight has yet to pit on those hard tires, and is doing all he can to keep that rental car behind him here on lap 15.
Knight in P3. He'll be very happy where he is right now, but Colin may be passing him sooner rather than later on those newer hard tires, and it's going to be a very easy pass on the inside. And on the inside in the turn 1, Knight down the P4. Can he make a challenge, though, on Colin? He's going to have... No, he will not have DRS, actually. Sorry, the pass was made in turn 1, so Colin will make a pretty considerable gap. And now ISRL Knight just going to settle into the race. We'll make a pit stop soon, and I presume is going to go onto the medium tires till the end of the race.
Oh, most likely going to be the case unless he's really able to extend these hard tires that much longer to the point where he can put the softs on. But that's still a lot of work to ask for, especially given the cliff that some of these tires have. Now I'm seeing Izat closing up to Jer and Sweet Crown. So Izat looking to put those soft tires to good use, but he's going to have to overtake Jer and Sweet Crown sooner rather than later. to truly put them to use, because those soft tires are only going to last maybe about 6-7 laps, I would think, before they start hitting that cliff. And that's when we'll see the medium and the harder tires start getting their advantage. But he's at very close behind, and potentially only a matter of time before we see this move happen.
In fact, it's probably going to be on the start-finish line, because Isaac Kush is right on the rear diffuser of that Williams car, and it's only that AlphaTauri, and it's only a matter of time. And there's the move made and done and dusted. Isaac Kush up into P6, just about there now, making that move, and he'll have DRS again, and we'll be able to extend the gap a little bit. But now let's look right on board of Sweet Crown 19 in the wings of the Red Bull, who is trying to find some wings right now on those hard compound tires, those used tires that he still hasn't gone off of, but the wings are starting to come off for ISRL Knight. The grip starting to decrease rather rapidly as Sweet Crown 19 waiting in the wings to make a overtake and put himself in the P4, and he's going to have to deal with about 2 seconds to make it towards Colin. But actually he hit the back.
Actually, yeah, look at that. Sweet Crown 19 going a little bit wide. I don't think there was contact. I think maybe just I don't know, maybe a little bit of early braking by Knight, late braking by Sweet Crown 19, but either way, Isaac Kush able to see the opportunity and makes the most of it, and brings himself up into 5th.
So that's a very rare mistake from Sweet Crown 19. Now, we've seen some pit stops mistakes in the past few races in terms of dry to wet tires, but that is a very rare technical mistake from Sweet Crown 19, something you don't normally see. But now Isaac Kush is all over the back of ISRL Knight. Sweet Crown 19 might get involved as well, but here we go, down the start-finish line. We have Isaac Kush is going to make a move on the inside and get himself up in the P4. Now Knight has to deal with Sweet Crown 19, who is then, Knight still has no DRS, and now he's just going to get out of the way of Sweet Crown 19, it looks like, and now Sweet Crown 19 can put his focus now on Isaac Kush, who is in the P4, where Knight was at one point.
Oh yeah, Knight was a bit of a sitting duck there without the DRS, and it was only a matter of time given Sweet Crown was on the medium tires, only 5 laps old compared to Knight's 16-lap old hard tires. But that was still a very good battle and a very good effort by Knight to hold on to that position for as long as he can. But now Knight has to switch his focus to Jer, who equally is
on the inside.
looking to make a move.
And it's going to be and he does make the move on the inside.
Yeah, makes it very efficiently. Jer, knowing that he's going to have to close down the gap and make that overtake sooner rather than later if he wants any chance of keeping up with Sweet Crown 19 in this battle with the championship, and makes no mistake going down the inside of Knight on the first opportunity he had. So that brings Jer up into 6th, and he can now start closing that gap once again on Sweet Crown 19 and Isaac Kush.
Now, if you are Sweet Crown 19, you are probably hoping to have this battle for 4th with Knight, but that didn't happen due to that mistake. And now you have that battle of Isaac Kush, who is on that soft compound tire, which at least for a few laps is going to be a lot faster than those medium tires that Sweet Crown 19 has. Now, Isaac Kush and Sweet Crown 19 pretty close in pace, so Sweet Crown 19 is going to have a bit of a struggle right now if he's going to want to make it ahead of the McLaren, at least for a few laps. But Feral Fury has now made a move on Knight, and I think Knight is about ready, should be ready now to make a pit stop, because he is getting passed left and right as drivers with much newer tires than him are just dicing him up right now. The wings are now completely off the car, and it's back on the ground, and it's really starting to show the effects of that long run on those hard tires.
Oh yeah, definitely time for a pit stop. And speaking of pit stops, there's somebody else whom is probably due for a pit stop, given they're on 17-lap old medium tires, and that's actually the race leader, Will, who has come out of seemingly nowhere and has taken the lead, but actually, just as I say that, is now going into the pits, but looking very good to actually run that medium to soft strategy until the end of the race. But now Chappelle back in the lead, and looking to sit pretty comfortably with the lead of the race, given that it's nearly probably at least a 10-second gap to second of who's Colin 86, a 12.6 second gap to second actually.
And that is going to be a very hard task to climb with Chappelle on that hard tire until the end of the race. Colin on the hard tire till the end of the race. But again, very similar tire. Not a lot of advantage to be made if you're running both that tire. Isaac Kush is in third position, 2.1 seconds back. Well, about how long? Because that soft tire is not going to last him till the end of the race. He's going to have to make a pit stop eventually, I believe, at least. He's not going to be able to keep these positions that he wants to, because he's going to get passed by Sweet Crown quicker than he expects, I believe, because that soft tire is going to really start to wane its existence in this race.
Oh, definitely, and I think it's already starting to show a little bit of the wear.
Look at this. I got a battle right now with Knight and Yarno. Look at Knight right now. Very up close to the rear diffuser of Yarno. And now he's going to have DRS coming down that DRS straight. Let's see if he can make a move. He's going to challenge on the outside into the turn. Very difficult to make a move right there. And in fact, it doesn't happen. But now he's got Pubed right behind him. So it's a three-way battle right now. And this is for P8 and in the race. And Pubed right behind the rear diffuser right there. And now we might see a bit of a three-way battle. No, Knight is the person who now makes a pit stop for that soft compound tire, as we said before, but now Pube can set his sights on Yarno in P8.
Yep. And actually, Do Will on the soft tires going side by side with Feral Fury, and is just able to get the overtake done. And by just able, I mean quite literally just able, as they were going side by side, even down that second DRS straight. But Do Will now sitting a bit more comfortably in 6th, as he's now going to try to have to close the gap to Jer and work his way back up the order, and potentially even get involved in this battle between Isaac Kush, Sweet Crown 19, and I guess a little bit further behind now, Jer on those hard tires, as I wasn't noticing, but the gap is starting to grow a little bit between Sweet Crown 19 and Jer.
You can definitely see, if you look at the tires, Sweet Crown 19's tires looking a little bit better. You can't notice it too much, though. But Do Will, on those soft tires, is going to easily have an advantage on Jer on the hard tires. And you can see the gap starting to decrease rather rapidly, in fact. Do Will is no slouch. He definitely knows how to make up a gap, and he definitely knows how to battle you. And Do Will is looking for P5 pretty soon in this race. But yeah, Sweet Crown 19 still in 4th position. Not able to make yet the pass on Isaac Kush. Isaac Kush still in that soft tire. So Fion's out of the race. Safety car deployed. And that is a crash out of turn number 13 in that chicane. And you can see the stricken car of that Ferrari. So Fion is out of this race. And forget the gaps we were talking about. This race has been turned upside down for quite a few drivers on this race. Lap 21 of 29. Safety car deployed.
Oh my goodness. As you said, this changes everything. Everyone's going to be bunched up now with the full safety car, and I've stood by this since the beginning of the Tier 1 race. Having that discipline through turns either 11 or 12 or 12 to 13, that quick chicane, we've already seen a few drivers fall victim to it, and Sophion is just another victim. Partially probably due to those 16-lap-old hard tires, but down to 14 runners now, and it's going to be a sprint to the end, I would think, as we're on lap 21 out of 29, so probably realistically we'll be starting around probably lap 23 out of 29. But now if you're Chappelle, Colin, Izat, and I guess any one of the top 4, and there we go, Chappelle's actually answering my question, do you go in and pit for soft tires now? To be on that the quickest tire for the end of the race, knowing that it's either now or never, and there's most likely not going to be any other pit stops for the end of the race.
Now, does Sweet Crown do that? Yes, he does, and so does Isaac Kush. So your top 4 have pitted now in this race. Do Will has got, I think Do Will and Knight are actually the best people out of this lot, because they made their pit stops rather soon in this race. Chappelle does stay out, though. Actually, no, Do Will take the lead of this race. So Do Will has retaken the lead of the Australian Grand Prix on rather new soft tires. Knight also on rather new soft tires, but he's not going to gain too many more positions. But Do Will, I don't think he's expected himself to once again find himself in the lead of the race in some masterful strategy call that I don't think he expected to actually come into effect. This safety car has really helped his strategy in this race.
Oh, definitely. And sometimes it takes a little bit of luck on the strategy to get a good position, as we're seeing with Do Will. But of course, it takes the skill and the right mind to think up the strategy. So not trying to take anything away from Do Will and the calls he's made, as it's definitely worked out for him, as he's able to. I guess finesse his way into a provisional first position here on lap 22 under the safety car. But with the whole grid going to be bunched up, he's going to have a lot of tough customers to keep behind him. The likes of Chappelle, Isaac Kush, Sweet Crowd 19, Colin 86 showing he has the pace as well. So it's going to make things exciting here on the safety car restart. And I even want to talk about Knight in 8th, and seemingly with the way he was falling down the order with the hard tires, almost seemed like that was his race over and done, just like that. But getting a little bit of a second life and a possibly reinvigorated battle here with the safety car, and now being on a bit more of an even playing field in terms of the tire wear with everybody else.
We still have a few drivers, most notably Carter, who's a little bit further away from the pack, but most of the pack has caught up now, so that pack will slow up and everybody should be bunched up again. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching live coverage of round number 12 of the ISRL Esports Tier 1 Formula 1 World Championship, and Duwell is leading this race ahead of Chappelle. My name is ISRL. I'm joined by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. As we're under safety car, I'm going to remind you, if you enjoyed the stream, make sure to leave a like. It really helps us, and make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you really enjoy our content, hit that notification bell. It will tell you every time we upload a video or go live, so you never miss any action from ISRL Esports. If you're interested in joining the league, make sure to go to ISRLesports.com to check out all of our information about the league and join our Discord so you can get in on the action. And make sure to like us on Facebook and follow our Twitter to get more action and news from across the leagues in ISRL Esports. But right now, lap 23 of 29, and we are under safety car conditions right now in this race. And Do Will has somehow found himself in the lead after a very masterful strategy, which not necessarily was intended to be masterful, but with the safety car, in fact has been masterful, really helped out by this safety car. It was Sophion who crashed out of turn number 13, that precarious chicane of doom, which on the exit, with that curb on the exit, can really unsettle the car if you put the power on too much. And now Do Will on pretty new softs. Everybody else pretty much on new softs as well. This is going to be a shootout till the end of the race, and the safety car should be coming in momentarily, and we'll be getting back onto green flag racing, but most importantly, hard, fast racing. It's Do Will in 4th. Now, most importantly, the championship leader, Sweetcrown 19, currently sitting in 4th on the grid. Jer all the way down in 10th position on the grid, so quite a far ways away from his championship rival, which again is only going to hurt his championship standings. Jer's going to have to have a very big couple of final few laps in this race if he wants to make it anywhere near a position where Sweet Crown 19 lies in this race. But there's still going to be no safety car is in this lap. Very late decision to bring in the safety car, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Safety car about to come in, and it does come in, and now Do will get us underway. Green flag conditions at the Australian Grand Prix. Round number 12 is back underway, and we're on to lap number 24 of 29, and Do Will leads them away in the turn 1. FRL Chappelle keeps 2nd position. Isaac Kush stays in 3rd position. Sweet Crown 19 also in there, but now he's going to make a move on the outside and into 3rd position. Sweet Crown 19 off a great start, and on the inside into Chappelle, who has a lockup into the turn. He's going to try to make the move around the outside onto the curb, and that could have been in a masterful amount of moves for Sweet Crown 19 in just a couple of corners, but Sweet Crown 19 will kick it in 3rd position for the moment. But Chappelle had a huge lock up to that turn. We're seeing a few 3-second time penalties come up now as drivers get back under racing speed, who may have had a few warnings under their belt. But this is a crazy restart already. But Sweet Crown 19, Izat down to 6th. He's had some problems, and now he's got a Renault behind him. That's Colin, who we've been talking about in this race, making up some really awesome moves. And this has been a amazing start to the race so far, back under green flags. But we got Jer in 9th position, who has made up 1 position after that safety car restart.
Yep, and he clipped the grass a little bit, taking a turn, I believe, 8 or 9, and that's where he lost out in a whole bunch of positions. But actually, it looks like there was a bit of contact, and that's actually who is that? That's an AlphaTauri of VR, who I think got tapped in the penultimate corner and actually had to spin around and ghost and fell down the order, and actually got in the way of Josh 2 getting back on track. It looked like there. As there was a potential issue.
But we got a move on the inside.
Fury, and there's contact.
But no, the move
like
for the lead
incident.
of the race. Chappelle into the lead of the race, ahead of Will. He's taking the lead, and there's another safety car.
And it looks like that was a safety car for the incident between Knight and I think what was that, Feral Fury, potentially. Oh, Jer maybe, because Jer got caught up. I'm hearing Feral Fury between the incident with Knight and Feral Fury, but I think Jer got caught up in that because he's all the way at the back of the order with no front wing whatsoever. So thankfully for Jer, there's a safety car, but with 4 laps to go now, that might be all she wrote in terms of the race. And even is that Mercedes at Jamie 1 going a little bit slow, potentially letting drivers go by. That's Josh 2 going extremely slow as well under safety car.
I'm not.
Well, Knight's saying, I don't know if Knight's too happy about that. He's currently sitting in P12, and this race has not been the best for him so far on the second half of it. It looked like it was going to be okay, but now he's down in P12. But Jer sits all the way down with no front wing in P14, and this race may be just about over for him, and he is going to have a lot of points to make up in the championship, if he can even do so now, because he's going to lose so much to Sweet Crown 19 in the championship now, as he has to make a pit stop and replace the front wing. Colin has retired from the session. So Colin has retired in the pit lane. So Colin was not too happy about the state of affairs in this race for him, and he is retired in the pit lane. And now there were just 13 drivers. And Jer is going to come out in P13 as Jamie made a pit stop as well. And Josh Chu also making a pit stop. So a few drivers now getting back on some tires. And I don't know if these are old soft tires or not. I don't think they will be, because they didn't get to use a lot of them in qualifying, so I think some drivers are still pretty good to go in terms of how many tires they have available to them.
Yeah, it's looking like they're new tires, but I guess a little bit of a silver lining for Jer is that he gets a free promotion up into P13 after Colin decides to retire in the pit lane. I'm not too sure why he opted to do that, as he's just giving away potential free points in the Constructors' Championship for the team. Especially with only 3 laps to go, and I mean, I'm under the mindset that points are points. Doesn't matter how you get them, as long as you get them, it helps out a little bit.
Now, if you're Jer right now, you got to pick up the pace, because there's only going to be 3 laps to go coming up soon. The safety car is going to come in anyway, and if he doesn't get up here soon, he's going to be left in the dust right now. He's booking it around the track. But the car's going to come in rather soon, and he might be left out without a good restart. But it looks like he might just catch up to the pack just in time before they have their restart.
Yeah, he might. We'll have to see. The other question, too, is as it looks like he's getting very close, is will the safety car have a very late restart once again like it did last time? Or will we see it go around for at least one more lap? It looks like it is going to go around for one more lap, so potentially only 2 laps of racing here, with a 2-lap sprint to the finish now for these top 13 drivers. So a lot of the likes of Sweetcar 19, Izat Kush, Duwil, and I mean even Chappelle in first are really going to have to be on their game, on the ball, on the restart. Because with 2 laps before the end, it's still anybody's race to play for here. When the safety car does inevitably come in and we get back to racing.
What a race it has been near the end here. Chappelle finds himself in the lead after a late move at the beginning of the second safety car we've had in this race. But Chappelle leads it. Duwil is in second now. Sweet Crown 19 is in third position. It's still all to play for. And a little bit of a loser in the chat. We're not going to mention his name, but he's making some stupid comments, so he can find himself another race to comment on. But nonetheless, Chappelle is leading this Australian Grand Prix.
Yep, and I mean, nice little strategy calls from Chappelle, and keeping it and just the fact he's able to keep it clean as well. Did a very good job getting into the lead, and honestly, never really looking back when he did have the lead in the early to middle section of the race, which definitely helped out as the safety car is coming in this lap. But now with 2 laps to go, all that work that Chappelle has done, we'll have to see if it's going to be for glory or if it's going to be for naught. As he's going to have Duwil, Sweet Crown 19, Izat Kush, Feral Fury, and all these other 12 drivers chasing after him for the win here at the Australian Grand Prix.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Safety car restart coming in momentarily. There's Chappelle warming up his tires, getting ready for the restart. Duo in second position, Sweet Crown 19, championship leader in third. Jer all the way down in 13th. He won't be too happy with this restart that's going to come now. As when will Chappelle get underway here? We'll have to wait and see. Here he goes. And he's still waiting.
Really,
it's been a very, very late restart.
Behind.
And he will do it now. Sweet Crown 19, though, is side by side of Duo coming in the turn 1. Will he make a move on the inside? Yes, he will, and he'll cake into second position. Sweet Crown 19 finds himself in second. Chappelle had a great start, though. Really backed up the pack, though. I don't think too many drivers were expecting that, including Duo, who now finds himself in third, and a lockup. And now Isaac Kush is going to be all over the back of him as well. That soft tire advantage now starting to go away a little bit as he's been on those tires for a few laps.
That spun and took out Colin as well. So no, not Colin. Josh 2 spun, hit the wall, and we're down to 12 runners now after the incident in what looks to be turn 4.
And Jer has front wing damage as well. Again, just a terrible, terrible race it's been for Jer, and that championship lead for Sweet Crown 19 is going to go up considerably high. Now we're near the end of the race, so no more safety cars going to be coming out. So we'll have to wait and see how this race goes on till the end of the race. Chappelle, though, leads it with Sweet Crown 19 in second position. Duwil finds himself in third. Isaac Kush sitting in fourth position. Feral Fury rounding off the top 5 at the moment with VRC rotation, not too far behind, actually, pressurizing the Williams driver. ISRL Knight has a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, cutting the track a little bit too much. But Chappelle leads it on the final lap, 8/10 between those drivers, and in fact sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix for note to get that extra point, that extra point. It's going to be 47 points if he can make it work. Let's see if he can make it happen. Chappelle is leading this race. Sweet Crown 19 now a full second behind, and it's slowly starting to increase that gap.
Yep, and a good drive on the restart by Chappelle, keeping it a little bit late, but maybe for the better, as it caught everybody a little bit too off guard, and especially Will, who didn't realize Sweet Crown 19 just creeped up right beside him, and we're seeing Sweet Crown 19 up into second. But now on the last lap, the gaps are still close, but if any driver really wants to get a move done and work their way up the grid, it's either now or never for them, as like I said, we're on to the last lap of the race.
And here we go. Chappelle is coming around the final few turns. He's kept it pretty clean all race long. As it stands right now, he's going to win this Australian Grand Prix coming through the final few turns. A few gaps of about half a second down the field here, but I think positions are going to remain relatively the same, mind you, with track penalties. But here comes ISRL Chappelle. He's going to win the Australian Grand Prix, and Sweet Crown 19 will finish in second. Duwil is going to come across the line in third and keep it. Isaac Kush is going to go all the way down to 6th of penalties, and Jamie will get up to 4th. And that is it for this race. Jer will be all the way down in 12th. But ISRL Chappelle has won the Australian Grand Prix.
What a drive by Chappelle, able to keep it consistent, grow the gap earlier in the race, and didn't really look back. So solid drive by him. Sweet Crown 19, solid recovery drive from 4th, especially after having a battle through a lot of that race through traffic. So solid drive by him, being able to come back and get a solid P2 finish, but really unfortunate for Jer, who right at the end got caught up in a lot of the incidents that really not ideal for him, and not the finish he was hoping for, especially with the given the point position and the point gap in the battle for the Drivers' Championship.
So that was interesting, to say the least.
Oh yeah, no shortage of excitement here around Albert Park. As well, normally there never really is any shortage of excitement. It's always a great race, and this one was definitely, I guess we could say, par for the course.
Well, there is penalties galore up the field. Chappelle still had one, but Sucrown did as well, so they basically canceled each other out. But that is it for Tier 1 action. Now, I don't believe we can get people into the party anymore for interviews due to the way the parties are set up. This fantastic update by PlayStation, I got to talk about it, guys, because this was amazing. This overtakes precedent over the Crimson Chin still being on the podium. I didn't even mention that, ladies and gentlemen. The Crimson Chin got back on the podium, but this takes precedent over this stupid party system that got put in place. So, I don't even know what to say anymore, but nonetheless, I don't think we can get the podium interviews underway until we make another chat or whatnot. Yeah,
I'm honestly not certain how that actually works in terms of the with the new party system. I know they kind of messed it up a little bit, and it's hard to
messed it up. They ruined it. The servers were disgusting when they updated it. It was terrible. I don't believe we're going to be able to get that because we have to set up a whole chat system, and it's annoying. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to get you this Tier 1 action, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. It was a pleasure to have everybody on board. Fallen Monkeys, great to have you back in the commentary booth. Any last words before we sign it off?
Honestly, I think you took the words out of my mouth, other than just what a race, and that was incredible. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for having me in the commentators booth once again.
And you have been watching ISRL Esports Tier 1 action on Sunday, and it was great to have everybody here live on the race. Thank you so much, everybody who watched. If you enjoyed the race, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the ISRL Esports YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a race. And make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and Facebook. In fact, you can follow us on all those locations to make sure you never miss any action or news from ISRL Esports. My name is ISRL, followed by Fallen Monkeys in the commentary booth. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful night.